Hey there, Raamon Newman here. In this video, I want to talk about why top leaders, when they're performing at the top of their game, are able to accomplish more in less time with less stress and deeper commitment and inspiration from the people around them. And I want to talk about this because what I've noticed over the last 18 years working with leaders is that as they ascend in their progress and their achievement and growing their business and taking on more responsibility and having, higher position, then everything gets more amplified and more magnified, and even the small things have a big impact on the environment and the people in it. So I'm going to break this down in terms of the core principles, and then I'm going to tell you a couple of stories and then a few things that you can focus on to ensure that you're also able to accomplish what you want with less time, less stress, and deeper commitment. So first of all, these core principles are really what I think is like the trunk of the leadership tree. There's all these different qualities that we can talk about in leadership in terms of confidence and competence and courage and energy and clarity and influence, and they're all very necessary, but they're all the branches. And these two core principles is really part of the trunk that enables those things to work that much more effectively. So the first thing that I've noticed is that leaders, when they're working on a big project, they want to see something big happen, that no matter what's happening, whether it's really positive and progressive or it's challenging, that they're able to remain connected to themselves and their vision. They have this greater capacity of settledness, of alertness, of superfluidity to be connected to themselves and their vision, and they remain at the cause of what they want to see happen, not the effect, that they're unaffected by what may not be favorable right now, and therefore they're able to see the next thing unfold. They're able to get that insight, to be able to see clearly and comprehend clearly what is going on and be able to work things out. The second core principle they're able to do is to be able to be connected to others, have a greater capacity, be open and connected to others that are instrumental in supporting them in this process. So the great example of this is Elon Musk about 10 years ago. He was on the verge of losing both SpaceX and Tesla at the same time. Both companies were just lacking the funds to continue. He wasn't sure how things were going to work out, but he did remain committed and connected to himself and his vision and his people. And it was a dire straits moment, but at that last moment, something came through. I think they got the NASA deal, and both companies were able to continue. So in my own experience working with some top leaders is that one leader who was having great success in growing a company from 1 to 2 to 4 to $6 billion, in that process, he made it very important that that feeling of family was very important. He would take time out of his day just to go into the tea room and just to sit and connect with his fellow leaders and managers, see how they were doing, talk about things personally, and just remain connected to them in the process of the changes that were going on as the company was growing. The opposite example that we experienced was one leader who he was a leader in another part of the company, and there was leaders from a different part of the company were coming to meet with him, and they arrived. They had to travel, quite some distance across the sea, and they arrived, and this leader saw them. It was in the lobby area, and he did not acknowledge their presence. He was on the phone, granted, but he did see them, and he was not even able to acknowledge or wave and say welcome. And that had a really detrimental effect on those leaders and their inspiration and morale, and obviously that's not a good thing. So what I've found is what is very, very important is that leaders are able to observe the fundamentals. So the fundamentals to me are, first of all, friendliness. Is that we're not here to compete with each other ultimately. We're here to align with each other, to be on each other's side, to make better things happen. And I don't think anyone here wants to create enemies. So the prerequisite is that we have to lead with friendliness. The second thing is very important is compassion. That life is not always easy, business is not always easy. I don't think anyone here wants to suffer intentionally, and there has to be some compassion in that process of leading, both to yourself and to those that you're working with. The next thing I think is very important is that we're all in the business, whether we want to call this or not, of expanding happiness, our own happiness, others' happiness, which further expands our own happiness, and that we always should look at things from that perspective, that how can this be a happier experience for everybody? And the last thing that I think is very important is that we honor and respect our own strengths and our own capacity and others, and that we're also growing that, ours and others, that we're building on our strengths, that we're having more capacity to be more settled, to be more awake and alert, to be more superfluid, so that we can really see and comprehend what's going on, and that we're able to create better progress in less time, with less stress, with greater commitment and harmony with everybody. So that's my insight for you for today. Hope it's useful, and any comments or questions, I welcome them. Thank you.